Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So for all you Audie fans, he is asleep in the bedroom, no news. He's just been either playing outside in the sunshine or sleeping in the bedroom because, he's a cat. And the upside is he has been photobombing the videos pretty consistently lately, so we may see him a little later. But for the moment, he could care less what we're doing out here, which I suppose is a good thing because I've got a lot I want to cover today. So we'll see him if we see him. We're going to take a quick break for the intro and we'll be right back. So, I thought we would take a closer look at Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet's recent trip to Jordan, because this was a lot more politically charged than I think most of us realized at the time, because there's some background to this, and we need to look at this in the context of what's going on politically in the UK right now. So, to that end, I found an article for you that is a pretty succinct encapsulation of what's going on, what the politically savvy people are looking at in terms of how to interpret this trip. And I just thought they did a pretty good job of laying out all of the points. So, I do have to say, it came from News Nation. News Nation does provide their own recorded transcript of their articles, one of the things I love about them. But this recording was AI and terrible. I mean, so bad, it was hard to even listen to it and follow along. So I recorded it for you. And there is the voice recording that I made, plus the full text of the article. Now, I know some of you don't like going through articles on videos, and that's okay with me. Your choice. So for those of you who don't want to actually go through the article and just want to tune in for the discussion of the article afterward, I'm going to leave a timestamp below, and that's where we'll pick up again. So here's the article.
Harry and Meghan's odd quasi-royal tour to the Middle East infuriates Prince William by Paula Froelich. News Nation. After almost 2 years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle once again jetted off to do another quasi-royal tour, and once again infuriated his brother, Prince William. The couple's last 2 tours in 2024 created controversy as they were in Nigeria and Colombia, 2 countries high on the corruption list and not known for their safety. Harry, who has been trying for years to get English taxpayers to foot the bill for his and his family's security, has always said he can't bring his wife and children back to the United Kingdom because it isn't safe until they have police protection. The other issue, there was no obvious reason for them to go. Yet he and Meghan larked over to Jordan with the World Health Organization to visit children and refugees affected by the Gaza war. And the problem is threefold. Harry and Meghan's trip shows a lack of discipline within the royal family, which is currently experiencing its greatest test ever, having to deal with former Prince Andrew and the Epstein files. The trip is also being seen as a manipulation by the British government to have the erstwhile royals shape political messaging back home. And it is seen as Harry and Meghan's forceful attempt to become part-time working royals on their own terms, despite Queen Elizabeth denying them this role. As Tom Sykes, the Daily Beast's royalist, writes, with Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, launching a high-profile and politically sensitive trip to Jordan just days after Prince Andrew's arrest, we now see a royal family in which King Charles clearly no longer exercises any control. Discipline has broken down, and Buckingham Palace appears unable to stop H&M's quasi-royal freelancing. Meanwhile, Harry has become quite close to several members of Parliament, including former Home Secretary Yvette Cooper and current Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Both signed a 2019 letter of solidarity defending Meghan, and Mahmood recently granted Harry a new threat assessment review, which some see as a favor. Mahmood also traveled with Harry to Ukraine last year. Harry is also close to Baroness Doreen Lawrence, the peer who is currently suing the owner of the Daily Mail, along with 7 others, including Harry, for invasion of privacy and unlawful wiretapping. The royal family is not supposed to be seen as political in any way, a royal source told me. But there are fears that Harry is helping the Labour government with this trip as he is trying to get his security back. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has always been very pro-Palestinian, and it looks as if Harry and Meghan are bolstering that stance without Starmer having to get involved. Indeed, the couple was greeted by the British ambassador to Jordan, who thanked them for coming before meeting with members of the United Nations and UNRWA, which had 19 staff members investigated for allegations of involvement in the October 7 Hamas attacks in Israel. The UN's Office of Internal Oversight Services concluded in August 2024 that 9 employees may have been involved in the October 7 attacks and fired them. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization faced its own accusations by Israel in 2024 when Ambassador Mirav Eilon Shahar claimed that the WHO was in collusion with Hamas and was turning a blind eye to Hamas's systematic military use of hospitals. Her specific charge: in every single hospital that the IDF searched in Gaza, it found evidence of Hamas military use. These are undeniable facts that WHO chooses to ignore time and time again. This is not incompetence, it is collusion. Not that the Sussexes would be bothered. Meghan is trying out her next role as ambassador to the world, my source said. It's like her next role is a combination of trying to be Harry's mother, Princess Diana, and Angelina Jolie. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan already faced anti-Israel biases in 2025 when I revealed their then charity, Archewell, had donated $50,000 to a group founded by an ardent anti-Israel activist. After I brought it to their attention, the couple cut ties with the group. Palace worries that Prince Harry and Meghan have gone rogue. Because this trip was under the guise of a humanitarian visit, as opposed to just a fun, cool trip like Nigeria and Colombia, people inside the palace are genuinely concerned that despite the fact that the two are no longer royals and agreed to the Megxit Pact. You're either in or out, and they chose out. They are just going ahead and doing what they want to do anyway. Harry has a habit of bullying his father into getting what he wants, my source said, and Charles isn't strong enough to say no. Harry wanted police security, and despite losing a court case to get it, he went ahead and lobbied members of Parliament. He now claims he has it, and that has yet to be seen, my source continued. He wanted a half-in, half-out role in the firm and was told no. So now he's trying to do it anyways. There's a pattern here, and it's not pretty. According to Sykes and several others I have spoken to, including royal historian Andrew Loney, the Sussexes should enjoy the leeway now, as it will all end the second William comes to power. For William, the Andrew crisis is not only a warning, but also an opportunity, Sykes notes. It gives him a concrete case for acting firmly once the crown passes to him. He is determined, allies say, not to let the same confusion and lack of discipline continue into his children's generation.
Okay, so what are the takeaways we get from this article? Well, the author said that there were 3 possible interpretations or / motivations for Harry and Nutmeg going to Jordan at this time. And the first one that she mentions was to highlight the complete dysfunction and chaos in the royal family. They went just after Andrew had been arrested, and it does highlight the fact that the royal family is very much out of control of their own family members, never mind anything else they may be hoping to be perceived as being in control of. I don't know if that is something I would actually give a lot of credence to, but we'll hit that a little later. The second was that Harry might have been manipulated into this by English politicians, people in Parliament, who have very strong pro-Palestinian sympathies and leanings, and they might have eased his way into Jordan, bringing out photographs. Oh, and they love getting photographed with other people's children. So Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet go to Jordan, and they can not only get photographed with other people's children, but they can get photographed with other people's children who have been injured in war, who are refugees, who are suffering from cancer. This has to be like their version of Christmas. And yes, obviously, they made sure they sent out loads of pictures because everybody feels bad for children caught in conflict. Even I do, and I'm pretty cold-hearted. So, yeah, were they manipulated into doing this by British politicians? Again, we'll get into that in a bit. Other possibilities included that this is sort of firing a warning shot at the royal family, saying, take us back, because we're going to do whatever we do, whether we are in the fold or outside of the fold. And so you might as well readopt us back in and let us be half-in, half-out working royals. Meanwhile, the Sussex camp has another spin on this, and they are saying, look how well Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet have done. Aren't they proving to the royal family what an asset they are? They have had, 6 years now in which they have proven what a liability they are. And frankly, one trip to Jordan is not going to undo that. So let's pull back and start taking a look at some of this. They went into a very dangerous part of the world, the Middle East. It has been dangerous. It's been dangerous my entire lifetime. So yes, this is a conflict-prone area. They were going to refugee camps and hospitals and, pretending to be philanthropists. And that, I think, that alone, even if we don't look at anything else that's going on here, certainly should be proving to the British government that Harry does not need security, and neither does Nutmeg, because she's with him. So I would think that would be remarkably ill-advised. But when I look at this in context of what's going on in the UK, and in the UK, you have Liberal Democrats, and these are, by US standards, we would probably consider them pretty close to socialists. And believe me, there are some people on the far right end of things in this country who would say, what do you mean pretty close? They're practically carrying the hammer and sickle as they go down the street. I get it. I get it. This is a government that is not in lockstep with our government, and there's no reason they should be. Another country, they get to do things their way. However, we have very strong, very long-standing political and military and financial relationships with Israel. Israel is our ally. And going over to a series of Jordanian refugee camps and hospitals and shooting out photographs of war-wounded children, I'm not sure that's going to sit so well back home. However, it might be very welcome in London with political Democrats who seem to be favoring the Palestinian cause. I would say offhand, given the fact that neither Nutmeg nor the sock puppet are particularly politically astute, this was one of the dumbest things they have done, because they don't know what they are getting into. So after the trip, Harry gave an interview to Channel 4. And I have an article about that. All the articles, by the way, everything is in the video notes, as always. And in that interview, he didn't seem to have very much of a clue what he was doing there either. Why was he there? Well, he's vague about it. He seems to have swallowed a can full of pat lines that he could just spit out, but he doesn't have the intellectual capacity to understand the political ramifications of this, because quite frankly, there are a great many seasoned professional politicians around the world who do not have a very good working grasp of this. So that alone is not enough to prove that Harry's an idiot, but we don't need that. We have so many other reasons. So they walked into basically a political powder keg. And their trip will be, if it hasn't already been, will be used to the political benefit of the Liberal Democrats. And then we have to look at the fact that these same Liberal Democrats are the ones who have helped Harry reopen that endless give me free security case of his. Was it payback? Sure looks that way on the surface. It really does have the appearance of a tit-for-tat deal. Or maybe a pre-tit-for-tat. Was he doing this to thank them for reopening the case, or could he have been making this tour, throwing out all of those heart-wrenching photographs and making these public statements and interviews, etc., in order to soften them up, to encourage them to give him his security? Either way, what was it he used? He used a stitch-up. That's what he called it. when he accused other people of doing it to him. Well, this sure looks like a stitch up to me, because I know who is holding the needle and I know who is holding the thread. So it's just that simple. Do I consider that a legitimate possibility? Oh, absolutely. So in terms of the other possibilities, is this a question of Nutmeg and the sock puppet going out to try to exploit the problems the royal family is having? Sure. But that alone is not an end in itself, because highlighting the problems of leadership within the royal family at this time is very much against their interests. Not that I believe Nutmeg and the sock puppet have a clear sense of how to best serve their own interests. Their track record alone proves they have no idea how to do that. But I do think, certainly, this is probably not at the top of their list. Is it an up yours sort of thing? You know, you can't tell us we can't call ourselves royal. Remember that? We can go do this if we want to. We're going to do whatever we're going to do. And if you want any control over our actions, you're going to have to reabsorb us into the royal family on our terms. Oh, I think that was pretty high on their list. Also, I think showing the royal family what wonderful international ambassadors they are. Yeah, sure. I think that was fairly high on their list as well. Then we have to look at the possibility, and this was referenced in the article, that Nutmeg is attempting to rebrand herself as Princess Diana / Angelina Jolie, running around the world doing good works, kicking soccer balls, because, if she's not going to do a Princess Diana impersonation, she might as well do a Princess Catherine one. Sadly for her, though, Catherine not only looked better, but she certainly looked more comfortable in her forays out on the soccer field. So what can I say? Nutmeg did not pull that off well, if that was her goal. So we have all of this together. I can only assume, and this is my assumption, that they are getting their instruction from people like Sunshine Saxton. These are not political advisors. These are celebrity advisors. They know how to get a celebrity onto the front pages, but that strategy can backfire very quickly when you start dealing with royals, because British royals are not allowed to meddle in politics, and this was an inherently highly political junket. All there is to it. So when we just take a breath and look at this, what did they do? Actually, doesn't matter what they think they did, what they wanted to do, what did they do? Well, they loaded William's gun for him. If he wants to take their titles, they gave him the perfect excuse. They are overtly involving themselves in politics. They are going to foreign countries under the protection of their titles, cloaked in the prestige of the royal family, without the royal family's consent, without any sort of political agenda from the UK. Because let's face it, royals go overseas, they are representing the country. There is always some sort of political agenda there. It may not always be very obvious, but it's always there. No, they are running off like loose cannons, and they are doing it under the auspices, ostensibly, of the royal family. They are using those titles, which is how they are getting a seat at the table of the World Health Organization. That is how they are getting met by ambassadors of other countries, because they show up and nobody really knows whether or not they are representing the crown. And if someone assumes that they are, it's not as if Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet are going to straighten them out. Oh no, they are going to make sure they are called their Royal Highnesses and addressed as ma'am and sir, etc. No, they're playing this for all it's worth. The problem is that they've gone too far this time. I do believe that this is going to be their Rubicon. They have simply pushed past the point where it can be tolerated. They went to the Middle East. They went to Jordan, dealing with Palestinian refugees who have, if you dig into the situation, allegedly been made refugees by Israel, one of the U.S.'s staunchest allies. U.S. and Great Britain are also allies. U.S. and Canada are also allies. Australia, New Zealand, I would have to say that, in my personal opinion, I don't know how my government feels about it, but I know how I feel about it, and I vote. Australia and New Zealand are always going to be on the top of my list of U.S. allies. Israel is very nearby, as is the UK, as is Canada. Australia and New Zealand, always number one, though. So the fact is that you go over, you alienate one of our longest and strongest allies, Israel, by throwing out pro-Palestinian propaganda, which there's no other way you can characterize photos from refugee camps as anything but pro-Palestinian propaganda. That could open a whole can of worms for us. I don't think it will, though. I think if anybody is going to call Donald Trump and complain about these two, they're not going to listen to him defending them. They are going to listen to him just outlining his own complaints about these two. And frankly, whoever from Israel might be making the phone call can bond with Donald Trump over their shared misery about Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet. Meanwhile, the UK is left holding the bag, because I do not believe for an instant there is any way the UK is not going to get fallout from this. Just my opinion. So that's why I think this is important, because they've overstepped this time. They have gone into a political powder keg, and people are already saying that this was a diplomatic catastrophe. Well, let's see where this leads. I have a feeling it is going to lead to the removal of their titles, because we all know that's what William wants. We all know Charles is reluctant to do it, but who knows? They may have forced his hand. Fingers crossed. All right, that's what I have for you today. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I have a new slideshow, and I've given little sneak previews of it in the past, but I have done a slideshow of my cat's fantasy life. I got a chance to play with AI images, and I thought, what better way to work out how to use these than to just delve into the warped psyche of my little cat who thinks he is the master of the known universe. So, enjoy the slideshow. Thank you for being with us. I hope to see you again next time, and in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.